Welcome to the Asia Pacific Auto Podcast by S&P Global Mobility.
I'm your host Gaurav Vangaal, and today we are joined by Puneet Gupta from India. Puneet is our expert on the Indian subcontinent region for the light vehicle sales, and he's a director for the South Asia light vehicle sales too. India has been the third largest market since 2022, with approximately 4.7 million units sold in 2023. Puneet consistently engages with our clients and provides strategic insights on regional trends. Today, Puneet will help us understand India's domestic trend and provides insights on the conditions of the EV market in India, as well as how India will transform into the electric vehicle in the coming years. Welcome, Puneet, and thank you for speaking with us.
Yeah, thank you, Gaurav. Thanks for the invite and glad to be part of this podcast.
Okay, Puneet, let's begin with the sales outlook. We acknowledge that we have seen strong numbers post-COVID coming out of India. Now, do you anticipate any correction in the short term due to this high base, or do you believe that this is the high growth will continue in coming years too?
Yeah. So I think our view is, that undoubtedly, Indian automotive market has been closing at a fast pace. And clearly India is on a sweet spot today with all the charts, popping out. And that this will actually be the third consecutive year, when we'll see
Mhm,
GDP growth rate close to 7%. So now in short term, today sitting, so we clearly see that the biggest certainty, is around Indian elections. So we can
mhm,
clearly, assume at this stage that there will be political stability. The policy direction will remain same. But the
mhm,
biggest uncertainty, is around geopolitics, which can actually impact the high frequency indicators going forward. So now, in short term, basically 2024, we feel that if we see last two quarters, so we have seen discounting going up and primarily on the entry segment. If we see the inventory in the dealer network that has gone above 50 days, close to 2 months. And then if we see the repo rates, so repo rates are also
mhm,
on a very, very high side, which is around 6.5%. And this year, we don't see
mhm,
any further cuts from RBI. And this is over and above the high car prices, which have consistently gone up. So seeing all this, clearly, there are a lot of deterrents, to the growth in 2024. But, there is also a lot of steam left in the market. And primarily it
mhm.
is because of pent-up demand on few models. And so how do we see is, that in quarter two, we feel that the demand will get subdued, but in quarter three, quarter four, we'll see the demand coming back and primarily because of festival season, merit season, new model launches, and basically demand for hype. So I think overall, we expect this year to close at somewhere around 5.5% growth over
Mhm.
2023, but crossing or close to almost 5 million domestic sales.
So wonderful. We at least we are going to touch 5 million in a year. So the next question comes from the key drivers for the long term growth in India. Do you think that the scrappage policy is also helping the market growth rates now?
Yeah. So from the perspective of key drivers, in long-term growth. So today, as you said, right, so we are the, fifth biggest economy in the world, but India is going to add almost 5 trillion, GDP by next 7 years. So obviously, we will be the third biggest market in the world. And as the economy grows, right, there will be a need for mobility to grow. So basically how we see the key drivers basically here I split into first time buyers and replacement market. So in first time buyers, obviously, we all know that today the car penetration of India is roughly around 35,000 per household. So clearly we have a long way to go.
True.
Similarly, we see the average age of India, the Indian is roughly 28 years. To put it in context, the average age of Japanese is around 48 years and average age of Chinese is around 38 years. So clearly,
Mhm,
India has, Indian young population, will play and really come forward to first time buyers. And another one key indicator is women participation. So in
mhm,
last 3-4 years, we have seen the women participation going up from 23% to 37% in workforce, right? But if we talk
mhm,
about automotive industry, the women share is just 12 to 15%. So I think going
mhm.
forward, the women are also going to contribute and be turned out as the real first time buyers. Then apart from that, we have seen that the urban versus rural incomes, so I think that gap is reducing. So earlier we used to say that urban versus rural is roughly around 1.8. But now it's expected that in going forward, the gap between urban and rural income will reduce to 1.4. So which means that rural economy will contribute to the sales, in the car industry, which is roughly around 35%. And then,
Mhm.
from the other perspective, which is replacement demand, so we feel the three R's. And so one is obviously rising aspiration and incomes. Second is regulations, which are going to push the old fleet or scrap the old fleet from the roads. And then third is, the growing infra, which is roads, right? So these three R's, are definitely going to drive the replacement demand. And scrappage scheme is definitely going to play a very important role, because as we have more regulations, as we will see, government bringing in more norms so that we have more, new fleet on the roads. And moreover, I think one thing which is very important is, that as India, as India urbanization moves up, so primarily, like currently we are around 35% urban population, and as it grows to 50% by 2050, so we are
Mhm.
going to add 400 million population. So this 400 million population, which is going to get added into urban cities, is going to
Mhm.
be a big driver for replacement demand. Yeah. And so I think overall, clearly India, a young population, need for cars, rising incomes, rising aspiration, more roads, and stricter regulation, which obviously, will help, India car market.
So more population adding to the urban means that more congestion is coming in the cities.
Right.
uh, now we move to the EV projections. Puneet, what are your projections for the EV market in India, and how do we see the impact of the new EV policy on the domestic market?
Yeah. So clearly, EV is the way to go for India. Obviously
Mhm.
considering we have challenges like energy security. So today, 85% of the oil is imported from India. So India imports 85% of the oil. And then we have few lethal issues, for example, like pollution, like traffic congestion, so just to give an example here, if you talk about cities like Mumbai, we have 480 vehicles registered per kilometer of road. So obviously traffic
Mhm.
congestion, pollution and energy security, will really make government push cleaner, greener vehicles going forward. And typically, this EV policy is just in sync to this core challenges. And we feel
Mhm.
that this will be a game changer, for India going forward. So clearly in our sales-based powertrain forecast, after this policy have come in, so we have revised our EV forecast upward from 21% to 23% by 2031. And this is primarily because, we feel that government continues with their direction to push EVs. They are very consistent in terms of their effort and policy, renewals. And then, there will be a lot of new players, which are expected to enter, for example, VinFast, for example,
Mhm.
a few venture capitalists we heard are trying to get into India, which will make cars. Few
Mhm.
non-automotive companies are planning to get into it. And then obviously there have been a lot of rumors around Tesla, which for now are on hold. But yeah, we expect a lot of new players will add. And then, obviously this policy will give a boost to the ecosystem, which will really help the localization, lower the cost of EV components. So overall, I think this EV policy will be a game changer and we will
Mhm.
see, a lot of new players coming in, and so which will overall help the industry.
I think that there is a question, I think, which has been asked multiple times to us and most of our experts on India. So what's your thought on the Chinese car makers? Do they have a good opportunity to enter the Indian market after the JSW and MG collaboration?
Yes. So I think Chinese have been eyeing India, car markets, obviously because India is the third largest market today for almost last 7, 8 years. So but the difference is, that earlier they wanted to come up their own. They wanted to set up
Mhm.
their independent entities, but now they want to come in collaboration. The single entity route doesn't look visible for now. So I think, like you touched it, so MGJSW, I think is a great example where we are
Mhm.
seeing Chinese really collaborating with Indian players, and we have been seeing, others on the road. I think other is like Excite and Great Wall Motors Factory. So I think we will see all Chinese, coming up and really coming to explore the Indian roads. But obviously, that will happen in collaboration, that will happen in partnership. Because one thing, generally I say that we should not forget that Chinese sells around 60% of the EVs today globally, right?
Mm-hmm.
So primarily that they have the technology with them, they have the technology at the right price, and so obviously, and they are now in the mode to sell their technology. And I think India, because of its parent challenges, which I discussed right in the beginning, so I think clearly India needs that technology and that expertise, and then we can obviously ride on it and make our mobility cleaner and greener.
Yeah, definitely. We definitely need a support to develop the ecosystem, be it from any country it is coming, but we need to invest in our ecosystem specifically for the sustainability. This is the last question actually. Now, how do you perceive the competition between upcoming vehicles or upcoming platforms like Tata Vinaya, Mahindra, Englo, and we are also hearing that VinFast is going to enter now. How do you perceive the competition? Do you believe that they will compete in different price segments, or do you anticipate any direct competition among them?
Yeah. So the first thing is, I think all these products, like what you mentioned, so obviously they will act as catalyst for their OEM. Obviously they will help their OEMs to build on the supplier network. So in a way, obviously it is a win-win for that OEM and for the country. But in a way, if you see Tatas and Mahindras,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, or even that way, VinFast, so we will see they will have push these products, right? So they will not have a pull factor going forward. Unlike if Tesla would have entered India, they would have obviously had a pull factor. But for these players, they will be introduced obviously at almost at a similar price point. So, but then there would be a push factor. As initially, we really need to convince and give a great proposition to the customer in terms of range and price. Which obviously will be a challenge these days. But undoubtedly, this is a segment, this is a price point, where the consumer has money, the consumer has aspiration, and, he may really look forward, to make in India and
Mm-hmm.
make an EVs product, and specifically from brands like Tata, who may also be able that seeing the situation right now. So we may see players like Tata are really growing big in this segment.
Wonderful, Puneet. We would like to express our gratitude for your valuable time and the wealth of insights and expertise you have shared with us. I think our discussion has been truly enlightening. We are eagerly looking forward to witnessing how India prepares itself for the forthcoming significant advancement in the automotive sector. So, thank you very much for your valuable time for the podcast series.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gaurav. It was great to participate in this podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everyone listening. Let's meet again in our next episode of the Asia Pacific Auto Podcast by S&P Global Mobility. Thank you.